Hello, my name is Justin Zilch, and I will be debating against mandatory vaccines for Dr. Elliott's English 101 course at Crafton Hills College. For this debate, I will be listing four major issues with mandatory vaccines, and the first issue is that people have been injured or even killed due to these vaccines. Another claim that I'll be addressing is that there are individuals who won't gain immunization due to medical conditions or other issues. Another is financial issues. And lastly, there's parental refusal, which falls under multiple categories. Starting with cases of people being injured or killed due to vaccinations, the first case I would like to talk about is the case of Rachel Zolk. Rachel Zolk was a 5-year-old girl that was getting her pre-kindergarten vaccines in 1990. However, after her vaccines, she was getting seizures, blindness, and she was actually deemed mentally retarded from a medical team. The medical team that evaluated her stated that she had a encephalopathy, which is a table injury, and table injuries are supposed to be compensated quickly once they're reported. However, as of 2002, they had not received any compensation. So that's over 9 years. She had not gained any compensation, and her mother, Janet Zolk, had actually taken this to trial, and they were supposed to gain compensation because of the table injury and the adverse reactions that she had gained from these vaccines. And so adverse reactions is when your body actually has a negative effect from these vaccines, which could be mild cases of rashes and bumps or redness or bruising, or it could go to the extent of blindness and encephalopathy, which is actually neurological damage to the brain, so such as Rachel Zolk's mental disability that has been caused from these vaccines. The Justice Department and Department of Human and Health Services did not want to give them compensation, and that is actually why they had not received compensation for over 9 years. And Rachel's doctor suggested specific treatments that this compensation was supposed to go to help treat her and not have her eyesight deteriorate or try to cope with her mental disability. And she actually needed all around the clock care, and the compensation would have provided all of that. Another case is the case of Diane Rogers. So Diane was receiving a routine tetanus shot in 1991. Following her vaccinations, she was quickly getting MS-like syndromes or symptoms, and she had to be bedridden. And her husband actually took this case to trial, and the special master that was looking over the case entitled them to compensation. However, once again, the Justice Department and Department of Health and Human Services tried to appeal 3 times, and they were all denied once, but they still did not want to pay for these mishaps, and they didn't want to compensate for any type of treatment. This has happened a lot. There's also been cases as to where the manufacturers actually made mistakes with the vaccinations, and those caused even more outbreaks or more adverse reactions, such as the Cutter incident, and a lot more other. So I would like to move on to people or conditions that won't allow immunity that vaccines provide. So medical conditions that aren't recommended for, that aren't allowed to really gain any type of vaccines are Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a syndrome where your body is actually attacking the nerves. Um, Syndromes like that, or immunodeficiency disorders. Um, if someone has frequent or ever had a seizure, usually they aren't allowed to get any vaccines. Um, Shingles also, some vaccines aren't allowed to receive those um, vaccines. Um, Even if you have just a feeling that you have a cold or a cough, those aren't even allowed to gain any. Um, Going back to immunodeficiency disorders, I would like to elaborate more because there's a lot that fall under that list, so such as heart diseases, liver diseases, kidney diseases. There's a spleen. If you have one, or if you do not have a spleen, you can't even get some of these. Um, so a lot of these medical conditions are existing in today's society and still continue and will continue to. So my question is will these people even would these people be exempted, or would they be punished because they aren't allowed to get these mandatory vaccines? Or yeah, how would that be equal to everybody if these people are exempted? And this is a debate on whether everybody needs to get these vaccines. So, with that being said, I would like to move on to financial issues, because finance will obviously play a big part, because you must pay for these vaccines. Because I doubt that hospitals and insurance would cover these fully. So, in regards to adults specifically, I researched the vaccination list that is most likely an annually list that an adult has to receive yearly. Um, I will list some of the vaccinations, not all, because it is a pretty long list. The first vaccination that I researched was the DTaP, which is for diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. That shot usually costs $25 for 48 doses. Prevnar 13 is for pneumococcal disease. That is $135 for 10 doses. Menactra, which is for meningitis and other bacterial things, costs $112 for 20 doses. MMR, which is measles, mumps, and rubella, that is $56 for 23 doses. Varicella, which is for chickenpox, is $94 for 90 doses. For just those listed vaccinations, the total would be around $442. But that is not the whole list that's required. Annually, there's hepatitis shots, A and B. There's a lot of other lists, and not even counting the influenza vaccination list, which could even double the price. And the current price, or approximate price, for the whole vaccination list would be approximately $1,414.67. That is without any deductions for that insurance would possibly cover, or any hospital coverage. So, low income or even no income adults would have issues with paying these, or if they don't have a proper health insurance or anything that would cover these costs, would have a very hard time trying to pay all these, because it is $1,000. You have to pay this probably throughout the year. Every time you receive the shot, you would have to pay that. which adds up to this amount and could even double because there's also an influenza vaccination list that is also would probably most likely be mandated for adults and even children to get, because there is a pediatric list. So if you are a family, or if you're an adult of a family, you would have to pay probably triple or double this approximated price would be. So moving on to our last claim, or my last main point, would be parental refusal. Parental refusal it has fallen under four main categories, and those categories being religious reasons, personal beliefs, safety concerns, and a desire for more information from their healthcare providers. So, in regards to the first category, which is religious aspects, there are a few religions that actually they're not in support of vaccinations. These religions being Dutch Reformed congregations, Tabernacle, Church of the Firstborn, Faith Assembly, End Time Ministry, and Church of the Christ Scientist. So all these religions or followings do not actually condone or support vaccinations, and they actually recommend that people do not get them. The reasons as to why varies within these listed religions or followings. So moving on to the personal beliefs, there is actually a community of people that do not believe in getting vaccines, and they suggest that no one does due to personal beliefs, and these personal beliefs vary, but the most popular from what people have addressed or researched is that they believe that some vaccinations cause autism, that flu vaccines don't actually work because there's multiple strands of the flu, and also that they do not trust science and what science like the scientists say about someone like specific vaccines and just the way that vaccines help you. These are all personal beliefs and opinions. They're not actually factual or can be facts, but the fact that these people believe that, and if you take that away, that is obstructing the First Amendment, which is the freedoms, and you're taking away the human rights to choose not to partake in these vaccinations. In regards to a desire for more information, that is totally understandable because a lot of parents would like to know what is going inside their children and how this will work and how this will take a toll on their body and what would be symptoms that they would have to look out for, or how would the body react to this in like a few short times, because like Janet Zolk, she was just being a parent, making sure that her kids were going to be healthy with these vaccines, and her daughter Rachel gained mental disability. She's binded to a wheelchair, which is a fact that I forgot to address. My apologies. She needs around-the-clock care, and they've never been compensated. So information like that would be very useful for parents, because now they would understand that the precautions that they are taking and the risks that getting vaccines has, especially on younger children, because their immune system isn't fully built or strong enough because of its lack of exposure to any bacteria that causes these viruses or syndromes or disorders. So with all that being said, I believe that mandatory vaccines are not good for society, just because that they obstruct the freedom of people and their basic human rights. They can cause adverse reactions from just mild rashes and bumps to these extreme disorders and seizures and a lot of other medical conditions that affect these people in a very drastic way, and they aren't being properly compensated by the department that actually created being compensated for these table injuries or adverse reactions. Um, Also, a lot of people don't have enough money to support this notion of making vaccines mandatory, and some people just full out don't believe it, which would be obstructing their right to for being able to not choose this. Also, it would kind of disrupt the religious aspect, which is once again um, obstructing their First Amendment. And overall, it would just create a lot of anger within these specific communities and create more of a scare when it comes to getting vaccines because of these pre-existing cases, such as Diane Rogers, an adult who actually received symptoms of MS, and Rachel Zolk, who was a child and received a lot of damaging conditions that basically limited her life. So, with that being said, I hope I have persuaded you all to not support the notion of mandatory vaccines. Thank you very much.